my bank summary and look at, I have changed my costs, and they will be scaled up and scaled down in 3% increments. So that's what this is actually doing. If I change that to 3%, for example, that I've got an allowance that my sales could go up by 3% in 3% increments, and they could come down in 3% increments. What would it look like? And if my costs go up in 3% increments and they come down in 3% increments, what would that do to my feasibility, to my development profit, to my margin on cost, and to my return on equity? So in this scenario, for example, the costs, the sales start going up by 3%. So of course there will be more profit to take home. However, if they start going down 3% and then further 6%, then my profit would be from 2.3 million, my profit would be left to $1 million in this scenario. So I usually keep my sales at 5% just to see, but it depends upon where you are at and what your market is saying. And in my cost, if I've already allowed a contingency on every individual cost head by 5%, I usually keep this as 3%. Otherwise, it just doubles up a bit too much. So in this scenario, my cost on this side, which is on x-axis, which is on y-axis, and we've got costs reducing by 3%, and then costs also going up by 3%. So my worst case scenario in this is that I'll only make $619,000 over there, and my return on equity would fall to 18%. And my development margin starting out from 25.3% would be left with only 6.8%. So what you want to make sure is that anytime you do this sensitivity analysis, your worst case scenario shouldn't be a negative over here. If it's or zero or very close to zero, that you've got a little bit of a buffer here, that even if when things go wrong or the market takes a turn, you still have something left in this project for you to be able to recover and come back. And this is one of the most important things a lot of people overlook, because in a development, you start off with assumptions and you keep correcting course as you go along, because there are inevitably problems that prop up with respect to construction, with respect to getting permits, with getting through with authorities. There are so many different things that are at play, and you want to make sure that you've done your sensitivity based on your sales and your costs, and what does it actually look like. And if you say, okay, in 24 months, my worst case scenario is $619,000 profit, and my best case scenario is 2.3 mil. If the sales don't move up at all, fine, go with it. But if you are at a point where the market is actually going up, and by the time you finish the project, and I've been in that situation where when I started off a project, I did my feasibility on selling my units at $580,000, and by the time the units were ready and they were on the market, the price had actually moved to $630,000 a unit, and there was $50,000 jump on that. And that in that scenario, this would be applicable, and you'll be able to ascertain what you can actually make as a best case and a worst case and as a normal scenario. So this is what these details are for, and these are your developers equity injections and what interest that you want to charge the project. And the difference between the bank summary and the developer summary is that in the developer summary, we include the cost of developer's equity. And in the bank summary, we don't, because bank doesn't care what your money costs. And you want to show the bank the best possible feasibility that you can. If you put in a cost for your own equity, the bank's not going to look at it more favorably. You would want to make sure that you only show the bank summary, because that would not include any cost for developers equity. But whereas if you go into this scenario here, you'll have developer equity interest cost. In this particular feasibility, I haven't added any other I haven't put any interest costs for the developer. That's why I say 0. But that is the main difference between the developer summary and the bank summary, because as a developer, you want to see the whole picture. And see, even if your money is coming into the project and you want to charge money to the project for that, for the money that you are putting in as equity, you can see the holistic picture, and the bank doesn't need to see what you want to allow for over there. And that finishes our dashboard section.